everybody, before you watch the video, make sure you follow the page, like the video. Hope you enjoy.
Well, when I left school, I wanted to be a fashion designer for like my whole life.
Yeah.
Anything creative. And then I got convinced not to do it. My dad's like Greek friend, like, oh, you so passionate, but you make no money.
There's some reality.
Yeah. I was like searching high and low, what am I going to do? And then I didn't even hear like what architecture was, I think. Like, you know, everyone sort of generally knows, but not the word for it, I suppose, in building designer. And then, that sounds creative and you make money from it and all this sort of stuff. And I didn't quite get the grades to get into the course, but there's landscape architecture, which is the same thing essentially in the first year. Same courses. So the idea was that I would do that, and a lot of people do this. And then bridge over to architecture. But my majority of my lecturers in landscape were architects and became landscape architects. So I was like, okay, this is sort of trend here. And then I think it had like the highest dropout rate of any uni degree or something like that.
Architecture?
So, landscape architecture. And I started like 120 people or something like that. And by the time I graduated, I was with 12 people. So, yeah, it was, and I sort of like, I've always had this like, kind of observe other people and what they're doing, and if there seems to be some sort of like facade here that architecture in this instance was this like glamorous job, and it's
but there's
not,
people
like,
coming back over to the other stuff
exactly,
that was less
because they realise that you don't get the lifestyle balance that you do with landscape, for example. Because it's not as grueling in terms of like getting a qualification. You don't have to have a master's to be a landscape architect or be called a landscape architect. And you don't have to be registered either. You can still do your job and not have those things. Whereas architecture is like really, you can be sort of at the level of like a doctor or a nurse, where you can like sign things. What do they call it? Like a notary or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, a lot of people aren't that happy in architecture as well, because it's so competitive. And yeah, actually, to design these amazing buildings, you have to go through all the crap before that point. You know, you have to design toilet blocks and all the boring stuff.
Just with this mindset though, like, have you always had this way of thinking, or is that something you developed through your parents or like people around you, or what? Because I would say that a lot of people kind of get lost in the fantasy kind of thing, like the self-defense stuff, like wanting to be I'm doing it because I want to work with athletes. There's so many. I wanted to do that at some point. Like, I want to be a strength and conditioning coach for this and that, because I like working out and da. And like, and then you talk to people that actually do it, and they're like, look, I've been doing this. I've got this many degrees. There's like 15 jobs working with professional sporting teams. Like, it's unlikely you're going to be a PT. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, a heavily overqualified PT. Yeah. And I don't know what it, like, why are some people able to like kind of notice realities like you're talking about? I've always been able to observe and assess and stuff like that. I would say that most people don't think about much at all, ever. They don't analyze anything. Yeah. So is that something that you always had, or is that something you developed? Like, how?
No, I don't think it's developed. I think it's just my personality. Like, I was never the person to be asking the questions. I would watch the other people ask the questions and then think about their answer. You know what I mean?
Be observant and patient is super important. And nowadays they promoting the act quick, you know what I mean? Everyone's doing that must be cool. Wait a second, what? You know? Yeah. Sometimes the best thing to do is opposite of everyone's doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? This train went boom.
Or I've always been one as well to actually take someone's advice, not just ask for it and then do the opposite. Yeah. You know, so when like watching my lecturers go from architecture to landscape, I was like, well, yeah, there's a trend here. It's not that they had to say anything to me and be like, don't do architecture. It's that I just thought, you know, why are people leaving architecture? They stay up, they do so many all-nighters. I never did an all-nighter in uni. Other people did because they didn't have the time management skills. And I was like, why am I going to make myself tired and stressed and unhappy just because I don't have time management skills? Just manage your time. So that that fixes that solution. I never had this like attitude of like putting unwarranted like suffering on myself. You know, I don't see the point in doing an all-nighter. And I don't see that, like, my work is really good in the sense as well that there's not this culture of having to get into work at 6 a.m. and leave at 9 p.m. You know what I mean? Like, you're not working over hours. You get to work on time and you leave on time. And you're not being stared at for leaving early or anything like that. If you can do the work that you have in the time that you have, then great. That's what we're paying you for. You know what I mean? So I've always had this attitude of like not making things too hard for unnecessarily hard for myself. So I think that deters a lot of people from things when they get obsessive and all that sort of stuff.
Very good.
They get injured or whatever, and then they get discouraged, and that's the end of it. So.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you haven't yet already, make sure you subscribe, like, and again, go and check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, like all our platforms. Give us a follow at bjj.101 on Instagram, and go and check out bjj101.com.au to access the full video library.